Welcome to Life's Hidden Curriculum. I'm your host, Quan King. This podcast is for Philadelphia teens and young adults. This is a passion project of mine. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so another episode. I was about to say Fellas 5 Podcast.
I know, right? That's what it feels like.
It definitely does. But this is Life's Hidden Curriculum. Today I got my homie, one of the Fellas 5, Kevin, is here. We're here at Finley. We tried to do a little open run / fundraiser. We got some kids to come out and play some bad basketball. But we are here. That's why you hear the music in the background. You hear squeaks and balls being dribbled and bricks. But we're talking with Kev, and we're gonna get into it. So Kev, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what brings you. How did you get to this point here today?
Oh, all right. Oh, yeah, Kevin. Born in North Jersey, but relocated to Philadelphia area for college. That's where I met my brother Quan. So yeah, we went to college together. I got undergrad and my master's degree from Philadelphia University. Did a number of roles there, and then a lot of those roles prepared me for my life. So I've been working in financial services for 18 years now.
Nice.
So at one of the larger firms in our region, you can probably guess it. Outside of that, I have a 10-year-old. Beautiful family kind of situation going on. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, we can go deeper in different parts. I guess that'll be the intro.
So as you know, the podcast is really based off this concept that there's a lot of information that young people don't get, especially if you don't go to college. Mm-hmm. But also just as you grow and learn, you know, you get that transition from being a young person to being a young adult, and you become a teenager, and there's a lot of shit that is expected that you're supposed to know when you become an adult, but a lot of people don't get that. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, you probably are familiar. We used to have like rites of passage programs and shit like that.
Sure.
That was good because it put older people with younger people, and then you had some of these conversations, and there was a built-in mentoring component. But those programs are not as prevalent these days, I would probably say. Mm-hmm. And kids aren't really fucking with that shit because they'd rather be out here socializing, kicking with their homies, and that kind of thing. What do you, I guess, to kind of first kick things off here, tell me about your kind of transition after you became a teenager, all that kind of shit, and now it's time to think about, like, all right, being an adult, what's some shit that you felt like you weren't really caught up to speed on and you didn't know about?
Man, that's a good question. I think I knew I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do when I was 12. And I say that as saying, like, I knew I wanted to go out and be something, go to college. I didn't know any of what that meant, though. I didn't know what job I was going to have. I didn't know what I wanted to be. Like, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but I didn't really, it's one of those things that was a dream that I didn't have any way to connect.
Right, yeah.
No path to it. Nobody in the neighborhood had done that.
Right.
It was something I saw on TV. I was like, oh, I like working with dolphins and sharks too. Like that's what I want to be.
Seems like fun.
Right. So I had no real way to attain that. But I knew I wanted to do something. So I think starting with that core of like wanting to get something that's different, something that's more, is where you can start. So I think kids today, you know, if they start with a dream, I don't know how much kids dream the same. I think social media has made it such that I feel like they want to attain things and they're like, I want to have this and do that. Similar to me, they don't really know how to get there, but I think it's more pressure now to like, you can't necessarily, I don't want to say stumbling into a career, but there's less, I think there's more pressure to have it figured out now, and instead of like taking your time to develop, find yourself, make mistakes in a safe place. These are some of the things that college provides, right? Like college, I think, gives you a place where
you can fuck up.
You can mess up. You can make your mistakes in a safe environment. You can fail, you can try different majors, you can do different things before you have to be out on your own. So I think having that environment where we came up right before social media was popping.
We definitely did.
And our mistakes aren't documented.
But I also think
You know
part of that too is because we grew up with the internet, so we also knew that like you have to be mindful of like what you put on there.
Yes.
Because someone else always has access to that.
Totally.
So I think we knew that coming into it, so we saw social media, it was like, I ain't putting that shit on there.
Right.
I'm not. But then I think this younger generation, they see it, it's always been there. They don't have that same level of discretion. And I'm gonna blame some of the fucking parents. And I know I was a little bit part of this too. Like I debated like do I like create an account for my son?
Yeah.
And like document everything from the beginning so that they have it when they're older? And I'm like, no, that's kind of creepy as shit, because now there's people following that you don't know.
Yeah.
And so, but some kids grew up like that, and that's, they've had this kind of access and this exposure like the entire time. And it's a weird place, but
No, you good. Yeah, like I think the answer, that question can go a lot of different ways, because I think, kids feel more pressure. They are comparing themselves to, some kids might have had some success doing TikTok or whatever. And I think the feeling is that, oh, everyone's winning that way, where it's like, oh no, it's still like 1 in a million. Like, what I mean? Like, it didn't change. We used to get the same speech. High school, everybody wanted to be Michael Jordan. It's not going to be that many Michael Jordans.
Right.
So, I don't know, not in the schools, I know people still having those conversations. Like, I'm sure those conversations have changed, because I think, we thought the only way to be, not the only way to be successful. Everyone's heard this, I came from the hood and I figured it out kind of speech, but obviously people want to be athletes or some sort of movie star or rapper, something like that, singer. And you learn those things over time. Like, if you're going to be good at that, you got to put in a lot of hours. And if not, there's other ways. I don't know if we're talking as much about the other ways now. Like, I think some of those ways, and it doesn't have to be college. There's a lot of trades that I think kids can be successful at. And I think the same thing that I said, I couldn't connect to the marine biology thing. I think more older folks saying, hey, college is a path. We know about that path, but we have plumbing, we have electricianship, we have carpentry. These are things that AI can't do. That's another issue that's going to be impacting folks in their livelihoods. So I think providing access, letting people know it's multiple ways, letting them know you believe in them. So I think that's a thing too. I know some of the times you talk about what's impacting kids in our area in Philly, and there's not a lot of folks that believe in them, or at least they don't feel connected to it. You know, obviously you got you doing wonderful work. But do they, are people connected to Quan? Do they know how to access someone like you? Who's breathing life into them? And I think that's something that all teenagers can benefit.
And I think that the funny thing is, like, so some things haven't changed, they just look different. I think a lot of teens are still getting information from each other. And I also think that everybody wants to be hyper successful. We wanted that too when we were younger. But shit, I was in college. I didn't know how much, like what was a good salary, what was a bad salary.
Same.
No
Same,
clue.
brother. Yeah.
And I know I've had conversations with young people as a result of having that internal conversation I had with myself, and they have even worse fucking concepts. Like, I've talked to kids from 8th grade, 6th and 7th, 8th grade, all the way to like high school, and some kids are like, if I ask them, what do you think a salary is that is successful? That like you can say like, okay, I'm able to meet all my needs and I'm living. What's that kind of salary? And I've had ranges for anywhere from one kid said $60,000, which I was actually shocked. That was like in middle school. Other people say like millions of dollars.
Yeah. Like
literally, and I'm like, so understanding a salary, that's what you make every year. You think that you're gonna, make millions of dollars every year. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then when I ask, well, what are they gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna be on TikTok.
That's the thing,
And I'm like,
right?
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe you don't talk to your TikTok influencers enough, but they don't even make millions of dollars a year. Like, they get like endorsements and other kind of shit, and like, you get these net worth values, all that kind of stuff. But that is not necessarily how much you make. And on top of that, how much grinding you got to do to get to that. Like, it's a lot.
No one talks about that part.
Right, but I also think that's part of the secret sauce that gets kept. That's almost like a hit of curriculum too that gets kept, because if I know it and you don't, now you're not competition. If everybody knows it, like like Uber when it first came out. Yeah. Everybody didn't do that shit, so then he was making bank off Uber. But then when everybody started on Uber, it was like, well shit now. Supply and demand. It's pennies out here now. Now motherfuckers like, I can't eat off Uber. I gotta do Uber and I gotta do something else. And I gotta do something else just to get, that same kind of love. I do agree. I think young people aren't having enough conversations. I think too that there aren't enough people to have conversations with young people. Yeah. Because so many people aren't necessarily doing well, or they're not that much further along than some young people.
Yeah.
So like they don't like, well, what can I even tell them? Like I'm still trying to figure shit out. Which is also a process. I don't think anybody alive can say with confidence and with certainty and actually be right in what they're saying if they were to say, yeah, I figured myself out and I know it. I'm done. I'm good. I got it. I got everything sorted and figured. I think it's a constant process that I was going through. And Drake is going through that process now.
You know, it appears you might be a Drake fan on the low. I don't know.
No, this is just the radio. This is just Spotify. Spotify does its own algorithm stuff.
I think to one of your last points about figuring yourself out, I'm 42. I'm not afraid to say it.
Look at that.
I had to and it's a constant series of reinvention. I went through a job loss, went through a divorce, went through a significant influence in my life passing away, and I had to it's still going. A sense of reinvention and just kind of saying, all right, like I had a career in financial services. I mentioned I was at a place for 13 years, lost that place, started at a new place. I had people who were my age or older doing the same work that I was doing, and I had people who was like 25 doing the same work that I was doing. So it was like, all right. If you like to think about yourself a little bit of confidence, like, all right, where do I fall in this pecking order? It's like, oh, we learning the same thing. So don't really, like, all that had to go. And I had to start from zero and kind of reestablish. So I think being open to being appreciative of knowing what you don't know, or like not assuming you know what you don't know. You know what I mean? Like being willing to learn is good. And I think connecting folks to the information. You mentioned that, like, people have an openness to learn, and then being willing to hear from a mentor or meet a mentor. You know, like, do you know how to network?
Podcast.
Yeah, listen to a podcast, right? Like, do you feel comfortable introducing yourself to someone you don't know confidently? Can you shake their hand, look them in the eye? You know, there's this feeling that I have, a lot of people have, that, you know, everything happens for a reason. You believe in God, whatnot. He puts you in these positions. You may walk into a room with a person that's going to change your life, give you the information that you're going to need to get to your next step. But if you can't connect with them and look at them and shake their hand, then you're never going to know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think, you know, there's something that, couple thoughts. I think we miss the unks. You know, we're unks now. I appreciate our unk status. But it used to be, I think, easier. I think neighborhoods were such that, and maybe some of these neighborhoods still exist, you had old heads on the block. You had people that was like taking you under their wing, would say, hey, stay out of trouble, don't do that, don't go over there. Maybe that doesn't exist anymore in the way that people communicate. Like, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole there, but I think that's a thing. And then kids, you know, being open enough to receive information from adults. You know, I think because you get access to so much information from, and I don't want to beat up on social media, but your phone, your iPad, whatever, you have influence from so many different places.
Yeah.
And it looks cool, you know. The person that's trying to give you game, I drive a Toyota Camry. You might look at me and be like, well, what the fuck I'm listening to you for? Like, you know what I mean? Now my Camry paid off, you know what I'm saying? It's you know, it's doing what it need to do.
Right.
But if someone on Instagram or TikTok is driving a Benz, you're more likely to figure out, oh, I'm trying to get to the Benz, and I respect that.
Yeah.
But is it realistic? And like, are you able to reach out and touch that person? Is that person able to say, oh, like, steer clear of that and don't do that, or maybe try this, open your eye up to this?
Yeah.
And
or you might not know that Benz is leased. It's a rental.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people, you know.
Right. A lot of people are faking out there.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a big proponent of dreaming, but I think you got to tie some realism to your dream. Like, how are you getting? If you go into the league, how many shots you getting up a day? You know, are you shooting 300, 400, 500 shots a day?
Yeah.
And how many of those are makes? And are you tracking it? And are you getting better? So, like, you know, have the big dream, but are you putting the work behind it? Right. And if you don't know what the work is, who are you asking to get the help? So I'll pause there. You know what I mean? I don't want to keep going.
All right, so let me, we probably gonna hop around a little bit, and that's
all good.
Fine. I want to shift a little bit. You have a son who's about to become a teenager. So as a parent, tell me what that kind of, what's your mindset when you think about the teenage years, 2025, like in this time frame we're in now?
The first thing that I think about is pressure. And I'm not an overprotective parent. I'm not a helicopter parent or tiger parent, any of those type of parents, but I get nervous, man. Like, my son is into YouTube, and he's into, he wants to have a lot of friends. He wants to have this social circle. He sees our relationship and our fellas five. So he wants to emulate that, and I respect it. It's a beautiful thing, but, you know, it's not something that I didn't have it at 10. You know, my guys at 10 aren't necessarily my guys now. Shout out to everybody I grew up with, but I still love them, but it's different. So I think the idea connecting into what we talked about earlier is that everybody wants everything right away. So I think that pressure, going back to that, they want success right away. They want to be on TikTok right away. They want to have the things they want right away instead of realizing these things take time. You're still figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
And, as you're trying, as you're getting older, there is more pressure and there is more, you're not just comparing yourself to the people that live in your neighborhood or people that go to your school.
Right.
It's the whole world that on your phone or on your tablet now. So I do think there's pressures that they face that we didn't face as far as fitting in and what this idea of growing up is supposed to mean, and like, what am I supposed to have? If you grew up, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich either. You know what I mean? So I would say we were, probably by American standards, like lower middle income. I didn't know nobody that was getting it, so I thought my growing up was normal. Till you leave, your perspective changes. Like, oh, okay, but I didn't feel like I lacked anything. Yeah. Now kids can see you watching somebody living in Bel Air and they got a 37-room house, and you're like, oh, well, damn.
There's levels to this shit.
But you don't understand that, either that was passed down or they're, you know what I mean? You don't understand that as a 10-year-old or 11-year-old or 13-year-old, and you just feel like you're supposed to have it. So now you're comparing yourself, and it's robbing you of your joy. Like, as a teen, a young teen, these are your years where you get to, as we talked about, make mistakes. You get to fill yourself out. You're coming of age. So doing that in an environment where you can ask questions, you're not comparing yourself to someone down the street or on Instagram, like, maybe I should have started there. Kids should be allowed, and young teens included, be a kid. Like, figure it out. Be curious, make mistakes,
right?
And then ask questions about those so you can learn. But I think there's a lot more pressure now on, like, I gotta have it figured out right away. And if I don't have it figured out, then maybe I'm not like as much as what I think about myself. I feel less of myself. My self-esteem is lower. Yeah. And then that goes into hopelessness, and that leads people to make bad decisions, and that's a whole other thing. But the more you can feel, okay, cool, I'm open. Someone believes in me. I might have a dream, but if I don't know how to get there right away, it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to have all the fancy cars and all the fancy stuff now. I can just figure it out. So I think that's important. Like, giving kids hope, obviously, giving them some structure and some room to be like, yo, be a kid. Like, enjoy being 13.
Because it's not going to stay around for long.
It's not going to be like, you're not going to be able to do all this stuff and make mistakes, and nobody's going to be like, all right, he'll figure it out. Like, they gonna now be demanding you pay rent, do this, do that, get a job. So, while you can still be open and have some of that childhood amazement that, we look for now as grown men, it's like, use it. And I know different circumstances make that challenging and whatnot, but I think the adults, the unks, the people who are around that can provide some of that space to be like, yo, okay, yeah, your dream is this, okay, how are we gonna connect it? And, okay, if it's gonna be this, how are you gonna get there? Challenge them, but also give them that room and encouragement to grow, like that nurture is what I'm looking for.
Right.
To support the growth and you got to allow, I think from dreams sprout other things, right? And you can either figure out how to be your mayor or run your community center, or you can go be Dr. Law. Like, those things are possible, but it's got to start with a dream. It's got to start with someone reaching back to you and kind of guiding you along. And I think kids knowing that it can be a slow grind. Like, it doesn't have to happen all at once. It doesn't have to happen right away. Like I said, I felt like I restarted things at like 37. So it's never too late to start. And life is going to have stops and starts. I'll stop there. How about that?
That's good. That's good. I'm reminded of watching something on YouTube, but I was definitely at work. Not to say I was goofing off at work, but it was work related. But somebody was speaking, I think it's a TED Talk, and they said, you change your 3 Ps. You change your place, changes, like, you physically change where you are. So, like, remove yourself from your current circumstances, current surroundings, and you get outside your comfort zone. And then you're gonna be forced to go to the 2nd P, which is you meet new people.
Yep.
So you change, and now you're experiencing new people, new languages, new customs, new cultures, exposing the things that maybe make you feel uncomfortable, but then you examine why you are uncomfortable, and that leads to the 3rd P, is you change your perspective.
Yep.
And so, because you've now moved out of somewhere where you're not familiar and you've met new people, now the world looks different.
Yes, sir.
Because you're able to do that. And I think that's one thing that a lot of young people in Philly don't get enough opportunity to do. I've had conversations with kids in West Philly that have told me glowing things about what happens in North Philly and vice versa. And I'm like, it's Philly.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same. I hate to break it to you. Like, no, but they got like people like outside and it's like parks and stuff, and I'm like, it's no park in West Philly. It's no park in North Philly. Like, it's the same. You're like, no, it's like, it's completely different. I'm like, no, it's not. Okay, I don't argue with you because you're from Philly, I'm not from Philly, but as an outsider, I'm looking at this like, they're the same. It's, you know, you're talking about there's trash on the ground here and there's abandoned buildings. It's the same. Now, if you go to Jersey, yes, that's different, right? If you go to New York, that's different. Maryland, et cetera, et cetera. I'm also reminded, I took some kids from Philly. I can't say they're from South Philly, but they were centrally located in the South Philly area. But I took them down to North Carolina, and they saw mountains for the first time. And when I tell you the impact that had on them, I remember the one kid like looked at me. He was like, "That's a mountain?" I was like, "Yeah." And he like he couldn't comprehend it. He couldn't understand that. Like, wait a second, like, so that's a mountain? I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Here's the crazy part, bro. We're on a mountain too." He was like, "Shut the fuck up." I was like, that's why you can see that mountain. Because if we were not on the mountain, you'd be looking at like it, and having subsequent conversations with them and what that experience meant to them, for them to be able to be outside of Philly for once and realize when they were around other, you know, young people that were their age, oh shit, these things I've experienced in Philly aren't regular things.
Right.
And I think that changed their perspective, and that made them want to do something now different and other than maybe some of their friends. And I hope that it was a beneficial experience for them. I mean, they wanted to go again, and I think they might have gone. But it's just crazy, like, how that one little thing makes a difference. And how important it is, like you were saying, for young people to be open to trying things and doing things. Because I think in the same way, you know, we thought we had to be super successful in order to have made it or to have accomplished something. But at the same time, we had no idea of what that even fucking meant. And I think young people feel the same way. It's, you know, they don't look at getting any of those jobs in between poverty and super wealthy as success. And it's like, the reality is everyone lives between poverty and super wealthy. And most people live closer to poverty than you realize. But it's, to say that they haven't accomplished something or that they're not successful in life means that you don't really understand what success means. And that's okay. There are whole grown-ass adults who don't understand what success means. And a lot of people are still trying to figure a lot of shit out. And I think a lot of young people don't also understand that. They don't have that sense of understanding that people that are older than you don't always have all the answers. Now there are some that do. Everyone has experience. They can maybe tell you, don't do this. Bro, it's definitely Spotify.
I just wanted to,
like, just to be clear, like, this isn't any of my playlists.
I just wanted to.
This is absolutely Spotify.
And I wanted, you know, because you had some good things going on. I didn't want to interrupt.
And it was God's plan. I get it.
I just wanted, you know,
silly shit.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you this about social media. There's been this ongoing debate. I don't even say it's a debate. It's a little quip that has been going on. People say, when they compare Jordan and LeBron, right? And I know this is right up your alley. People say Jordan would not have been able to handle social media.
That's a great point.
In the same way that LeBron has been able to maneuver and be successful and do the things he's done, having social media. Like, if Jordan lived in that same level of scrutiny and all that kind of shit with social media, he likely may not have been as great of a player. What do you say to that? And then kind of, if you can kind of tie that into just the importance and the role that social media has played in our society these days.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't hear me say it a lot. Kudos to LeBron. LeBron came up in this era. He was introduced to us in 2002 or 2003, right as things were taking off. I think Facebook didn't exist yet, but MySpace and all that kind of stuff existed. He came up in that whole era. His whole life in the public eye has been a role model, a consummate one. You know, we don't always look to athletes to be that. You know, Charles Barkley famously, when we were kids, said, "I'm not a role model." Did a whole commercial about it.
Definitely did.
So, you know, I think LeBron has done a great job in that way. It's hard to say what Mike would have done. Mike made a lot of mistakes. He's a grown man. I can't call what he did mistakes. he did a lot of stuff that you necessarily wouldn't want your kids to repeat.
Facts. Yes. Okay.
So, I don't know if that would have impacted his play, but, the gambling, not necessarily, going to practice, he did a lot of stuff.
The hyper competitiveness too.
Hyper competitiveness, but I think that would translate. I think he would figure out a way to kind of. I just don't know about being under the spotlight 24/7. If he would have handled that. Someone takes the video, it's videos, it's cameras everywhere. So it takes 10 seconds for an interaction to happen, and then it's on social media, and now everything's different. I don't know if you can handle that if you didn't have to deal with it. It's going to be an adjustment period.
Yeah, I don't know that Mike, being as competitive as he is, would be able to handle the scrutiny of somebody online talking shit about him.
That'd be interesting. That's a different perspective.
I think he would engage with them, and it would just
Would he do it from a burner like Kevin Durant?
I think he could be savvy, but I think the shit that he would say would not be as polished. I think he'd say some crazy shit. I think he would actually gamble people.
I think he would. I think the gambling thing would be a problem. I think the gambling thing would be a problem.
And bet money on people.
I do.
Which would be crazy.
If you watch the Last Dance, a well-done documentary, he had a gambling problem is a real thing.
Yes, maybe.
Gambled with the. It was just like a staff member, like it's a regular Chicago Bulls
security person.
Major dollars on flipping quarters down the hallway, no skill involved.
That was made up.
If there was something he can gamble on, he would gamble on it. And in this environment, so one of my favorite stories, which is a weird story because I was a Knicks fan, but Jordan was Jordan, is that he left a Knicks game in the playoffs, left Madison Square Garden, went to Atlantic City, gambled till 5 a.m., went to practice at 7. And then he gave us 40.
Torch shot at Knicks.
But during those times,
the
cameras, the things he probably been saying, the type of, I don't know if he would have survived that. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know if he would have survived that. Because you got to move different. Being under that fishbowl. I mean, that's one of the things, kind of circling back to what you can learn in college and in a safer space. Mm-hmm. We both were student leaders when we were at school. So, we learned about that fishbowl early. Mm-hmm. We didn't go to a giant school, but it was big enough, especially we came from a small community.
And there's only a handful of black guys there. Right. So everybody knew who we were.
Right. So you in a place, 3,000 kids, you in a fishbowl. If you one of those people, we were one of those people. Not, it's a different podcast, but we were those guys. So you had to be mindful about how you conducted yourself. Mm-hmm. And this was then. And this was before we had really good camera phones. So if no one gives you that speech and you just get plopped into that, I don't know if you survived. I don't think you make it out.
And it's tough because there are young people that are now making grown-up mistakes and they're putting too much of their stuff out there. And it's weird. So and this is, I pride myself on trying to be as authentic as real as possible. It's kids out here not realizing that, them sending tit pics and dick pics to each other is actually trafficking child pornography.
Very, very dangerous.
And so they get caught on some of that shit. And yes, even though I'm a minor and I send it to them, it's still child pornography. And so you end up getting in trouble in a different whole capacity. Yep. And shit like that cuts you off from any other opportunities. Moving forward, because shit like that doesn't necessarily come off your record. Right. And it looks very different on your record. When you can't live by schools or you can't go certain places because you have something, and it's I was a kid. And it's but see, that's an adult mistake. Yes. That you made as a kid that, someone didn't tell you or someone didn't pull you aside and say that. And so right now, I'm pulling you aside and telling you right now, not a good idea.
Don't do that.
There are other ways to court somebody that you're interested in or have a conversation. The social media thing is weird too, because what I understand from the young people is that they have this dual life. It's a lot of kids that grow up in really shitty situations, but they have access to the internet, and so that's their way of escaping. They can go on Roblox and build a different world for themselves, or go on Minecraft and have a different experience of the world and talk to people. They can go on Call of Duty and be the worst version of themselves if they want to. And that can be an outlet for them. And that's not necessarily 100% healthy, but it is maybe better than some of the alternatives that they might be considering.
Absolutely.
Too. And so it's a weird space where it's we can't just take social media away, but we do have to make sure that young people are more better equipped to be able to utilize it properly and be better about it. But at the same time, they have dual lives. We kind of had that to a certain extent. Sure. I believe if you were an athlete or if you traveled and did stuff, you were able to go somewhere else and reinvent yourself. And then, you know, when you were at home, matter of fact, I'll say this. When you were at school versus when you were at home. Yeah. That was our thing. Yeah. Like at school, you could be whoever the fuck you wanted to be. And you was the fucking man. And then you kept school away from home. Yeah. Like unless you were that much of the man that you could be the man at home too. Sure. But most people were like, no, I remember having friends where it's like, you come to the house, it's like, you was trying to like lay ground rules to like set up a framework for the family and for your friends. Like, I know when I'm at school, but I gotta put my pants up. And I gotta, you know, I gotta, first before y'all come in, I gotta take the trash out and shit. I gotta do chores. They're like, wait, what? It's like, shut up, leave me alone. And the same thing, you know, mom, dad, don't, you know, brother, sister, don't say certain shit when my friends are here. Cause, you know, and I think to a certain extent, like, that is their version of this is like social media, because I mean, I'm sure they have that same thing, but then they have this additional layer where like social media allows you to really stretch those limits of who you are, and you get a couple VCs or some Roblox or whatever the fuck sort of digital currency, and you can make yourself into a whole different person. Yeah. You get the camera just right with the lights flashing in the background just right and certain things, and people begin to see you differently. Yeah. And there's a currency to that as well that a lot of young people cash in on. The teens in Philly though is a weird thing. As I look at some of them now, like I feel like they don't put as much stock into the in real life persona as much as they do online, because they all look the same in person. All kids are wearing the Nike Fit or Nike Tech. Yeah. And it's all the same colors. Like I don't even see like blue or reds or gray. I mean, granted there could be some gang affiliation with that. I don't think that's the case personally. Yeah. But it's always black or gray. Yeah. Or it's like a white tee with like black. And like the only distinguishing colors you might get are in sneaks, but for the large population, this is gray sneaks. Man. So it's a strange phenomenon to kind of see the teens in Philly, and then they turn into like young adults in Philly. And some of the young adults are still just teens, unfortunately. Yeah. And so I'm hoping like kind of these kind of conversations, they can listen in on and feel that like, all right, like everybody goes through like a weird ass phase, and you know, it's not that far off like what I'm experiencing. Right. But also that there is something that comes after this that they can look forward to and say like, okay, other people make mistakes, other people figure shit out. I too will figure it out. And I'm also, you know, with this podcast, trying to find some of those little nodes that are those moments of figuring it out. Where it's like, oh, you don't know this information. So you say you know finance shit, and I know that. So when it comes to, if I have young people that are like, have a question about finance, then I'm like, yo, I know a guy that can talk at length about this shit. And I'll say, young people don't understand this shit. Like, matter of fact, we'll go right now. If I were to say to you, and this is me putting on a conspiracy theory hat a little bit, right? If I said to you, a credit system was only built to prevent black people and people of color from acquiring wealth in the United States the same way that everybody else was, would you agree with that, yes or no?
It's a quick yes or no, yeah. I would say yes.
I mean, you can go in on it, but like...
Yeah, I think if you think about some of the things, I don't want to go too left on a political piece. There's documented instances of redlining, for example, where there had Jim Crow laws, we had segregation. So we couldn't learn in the same schools. So there's a lot of instances where life has been made harder intentionally for people of color. Because you know, when we came here to this country, we weren't considered human. Right. Yeah, we had to fight to be considered 3/5, and then we had to fight for a whole 5/5. We had to
other 2/5.
So I absolutely like. There's more nuance there, but yeah, I would absolutely agree with that to some extent. That there's a lot of systems outside of just the credit system that are in place to, you know, it's a whole systematic racism, if you want to think about it. That make life a little bit more tough for people of color.
But I bring that up because one of the things that I feel as though one of those hidden curriculums that people don't get and don't understand is credit.
Yeah.
And it's not, the reality is this, that's not even like just a black issue. There are a lot of people that don't understand credit. And me looking at it with my, fantastic design-oriented brain, I look at it and say like, this is overly complicated, but then there's a reason why it's overly complicated. And it's designed in such a way that only certain people can access it and wield it for their benefit. And everybody else fucking suffers. And I say that to say that I think originally was set up to be like, all right, let's kind of make sure that these people don't really get off. But then it started catching other people too, and then they were like, well, I mean, okay,
right?
Because we're still benefiting because we're making the rules and we're making the system and we're changing the laws so that it benefits us. And if other people get caught up in it, well, I guess so be it. But I do feel like there's so much in our society that gets tied to credit that just doesn't make a lot of sense. But at the same time, if you don't make use of it, it inhibits you from being able to do other things that put you in a position to do the things that you may want to do. So like if you want to start a family, if you don't understand credit, that is the difference between you being able to get a house versus an apartment, and then how you raise your family is now impacted because of where you live.
Yep.
So like all those things, like, and it's a fucked up thing that we have to deal with, but it's a real thing that like, kids are like, I don't like math. I don't like math either. But here, you gotta have a baseline understanding of math.
Right.
Because when I tell you about credit shit, you're gonna be like, I'm glad I know a little bit about math.
Right.
Because it's wild. Because I grew up with a mother who was like, never get a credit card. And so I stuck by that. My whole life, all through high school, through middle school, I never got a credit. Even in through like adulthood. I said middle school, I'm crazy. High school, college, everything. I never got a credit card. Even to this day, I might have one or two, but I know how to use them now. But like, I went a long time not having a credit card, and then when I wanted to do shit, I had, financiers and banks tell me, well, you don't have any credit. And I said, well, make this make sense. You're saying I'm not credit worthy, but I only spend what I have.
Right.
So I never put myself in a position to overspend. Yeah, but we need to understand that you have like a history of like paying back things. But I don't get in position to pay anything back.
Right.
I feel like that's fiscally responsible. Well, you're not wrong, sir. However, we want to have it documented that like you can overextend yourself and make it right.
Yeah.
I don't like to overextend myself. That's just a fun, that's just a way of being, preserving. Well, yeah, but that's not how credit works. Then maybe credit doesn't fucking work. And that's not your place, black kid. Got it, you're right. But no, I think it's very true, and I think that there are a lot of things like that, credit being one of those things that young people have to like get that deconstructed a little bit so they can understand it. And just from a financial standpoint, without, I ain't trying to get you fired or no shit like that. Have people flooding your LinkedIn like, Kev, I can't believe you fucking said this shit. Even though there are only 4 people listening to this shit. But like the whole financial system, what would be your advice to teens and young adults when it comes to that, like that being like a thing that they don't understand?
I know there aren't a lot of me, and I'm not even trying to toot my own horn, but some of that information you were talking about before, like if you have the access to someone, and I'm willing to for your folks in your program, financial literacy, the sooner you can get it, the better. And it doesn't even have to be like, I learned how to flip houses or I learned how to invest in the stock market. It's basic things like, what is a credit report? How does that work? Wealthy people, some that use it properly, they have this thing called leverage. Leverage comes from credit. You can be overextended, right? Yeah. But if you use the leverage properly, the old saying, it takes money to make money, you can use the bank's money to make money. You don't have to use your own money. But you have to understand that it's going to come with interest, it's going to come with a payback period. So if you don't go in that payback and do it right, now you're screwed. Yeah. That's a whole other conversation, but like that's how other people use credit properly. And if you develop it, that's how the folks who are flipping properties in your neighborhoods and doing well, some of them are utilizing some of these strategies. So it's not something you're just going to learn right away, but maybe if they're one of them is nice enough to say, hey, this is how I did this, young fella. But so ask those questions. Now, the system as a whole, I think the best way to summarize it quickly, there's a lot of things out there that I think we were afraid of, myself included, growing up. So I didn't grow up in Philly. I grew up outside of Newark, New Jersey, and similar, it's urban. My grandfather had an 8th grade education. My mom didn't finish college. My dad never went to college. My grandma didn't go to college. So I didn't know. I knew from TV and the movies that stocks and bonds were a thing, but I didn't really know what they were. You were going earlier, you were saying that you didn't know what a salary was. I was in college and I was getting ready to graduate. I might have been a junior. I don't think I was a senior yet, but I'm thinking about graduation the next year. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have this degree. This salary pays, let's just throw out $40,000.
Right.
All right, cool. That costs $40,000 in college. College, listen. I'm like, all right, if I got $40,000, this BMW is $27,000. I can buy this BMW and still have $13,000 over for other stuff. And that's how I thought in college.
Yes.
So
yeah, we all did.
Yeah, so that part is scary enough. Right. Like sitting where I sit now, it's hilarious.
Why would I do that? That's fucking ridiculous.
It's hilarious. So there's a lot to learn. Obviously, I think if you grow up in different neighborhoods, different circumstances, you can have an extreme leg up, and that's just how it perpetuates. Because if you don't learn about the system and how money works, you never catch up.
Right.
So I think. Yeah, you mentioned a little bit like there's a system to it. There, obviously, capitalism. We debate this all the time, but there are ways to win, but you got to have access to the information, and not a lot of people have access to the information, and a lot of people who have access don't necessarily share it.
Yep.
So I'm willing to share what I have. Every little bit helps to just spark the We love Tupac Shakur, right? One of our favorite artists, your favorite artist.
Yes, sir.
He say he want to be the rose that grew from the concrete. Well, if you spark that mind can change everything. So I think kids sometimes, going back to one of the first things I said, it may be easier to see something on TikTok or Instagram and dream of that and connect that to your reality, and you can compare and say, well, Kev, you don't have this, you're not driving a Bentley, you're not doing that. Maybe how are you a financial guru? I'm not saying I'm a financial guru, but I can give you some information to help you along your path. And then if you continue to grow, stumble across something, you read something, now boom, everything's changed. And I think that's what you're trying to do, not just in finance, but in different areas, like opening your minds, broadening your horizons, changing your perspective. So like, whatever lane you're going to choose to be in, if someone sparks that interest, how you take that spark and you run with it, you create it, and your mind, your worldview changes, and your perspective changes, and your possibilities grow. And I know I just said a lot. I think that's what you're trying to do, and I really love it, and I commend it. I know I started off talking about finances, but I think in general, open your minds up to the things that you don't know about. And it's hard to be open about things that you might not know about, but be open to learning, and be open to sitting down with somebody that's older than you, has some experiences, that's seen some things.
Because this is the time, too.
Yeah, this is the time.
This is time before you get all the responsibility of, like, you have to take care of yourself and maybe somebody else, when someone can still be in a position to take care of you. Granted, it might not be the greatest care that you would like, but there are a lot of things that you don't have to worry about right now that you don't even realize. That when you're out on your own, and then you say, oh shit, I gotta pay rent, and then also gotta have insurance, and then I gotta, health insurance for myself, and I gotta buy groceries, and wait a second, hold on, I'm working at Wawa, this ain't enough. Right, like there's levels to this shit. No, that's real talk, I appreciate that. About to close up here. These kids, a kid that took his fucking shoes off. See, these kids ain't good at basketball. I don't know what happened to the basketball culture here at Finley. I'm throwing shots right now. I need y'all to be out playing basketball again. And I know what it is. It's because it's too much of the stupid shit going on out here when too many kids come out and play basketball too. So y'all gotta I gotta stop that shit. We know everybody not gonna be able to play basketball at a high level. But here's the crazy part. It's always been that way. It's a bunch of motherfuckers that have not been really good at basketball. But we just played because that was a social activity. The same it is for y'all now. So take advantage of it. Know that you're not good. It's okay to not be good, because if and this is the God's honest truth, if you are a teenager currently right now and you believe yourself to be going to the league, there's a good chance, one, you're not listening to this podcast, but two, like, you're already in the pipeline going there. Like, you already have a strength and conditioning coach. You already have at least 2 other head coaches because you're playing for your school and you're playing for a travel team. And this is basketball, football, this is any sport at this point. And you're already getting, one of your parents is working you out or somebody else is working you out on the side too, and they're talking about nutrition. You already have a bunch of support that's getting you where you need to go. And the crazy part is there are more people that have that shit and they still won't make it.
Yeah.
So if you have none of those things, and all you're doing is coming to the gym every day, I'm not trying to kill your dream. What I'm trying to let you know is that, like, just where you are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because all these kids can get all the support and they can still be trash. They can still be 7 foot and not be able to grab a rebound, but then make it into the NBA somehow because there's a pipeline.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to make sure that young people understand that you can have a passion for basketball and not be a basketball player.
Yep.
Because there are so many other jobs that put you at the NBA Finals, at Game 7, with the potential to get a ring, and you never even have to put on a fucking uniform. And you could be right there in that moment, doing something that you love, with a sport that you love. But if you never identify that, hey, I have a passion for basketball, and realize that doesn't mean you have to play basketball, and you can save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of frustration, because you could just fast track to be a coach, or be a referee, or be a statistician, or be a game day announcer, do cool shit like I used to do in college, and just announce games and become the voice of something. And people are like, oh my God, I recognize your voice. Like, that shit is fucking fire. You could be a fucking Mel Reese.
Yeah, Mel Reese.
Sorry, Mel. Sorry. You're not listening either, but.
That'd be dope if he was.
Yeah, that would be. People are like, Quan, you're fucking it up. Like, you can be, you know, there are, I would argue that there are some organizations where the voice of that organization is sometimes more famous than their star players.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh shit, like, this person said my name. That's fucking dope. Like, as cool as it was to be Michael Jordan, it was also super cool to hear the guy say, 6'6" from North Carolina.
They don't know about that.
They don't know, but like, someone got the chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's the crazy part. That gave Michael Jordan and millions of other people goosebumps, being that person. Like, and that path is a lot different than playing basketball. Appreciate you, bro. Of course. Get up out of here.
Good. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Life's Hidden Curriculum. If you want to support this podcast, please go to GoFundMe.com, type in Life's Hidden Curriculum, and you'll see it pop up. We got the cool orange and like aqua color logo there. No donation is too small. I greatly appreciate it. All the money goes towards producing these 8 high quality video podcast episodes featuring teens and young adults. None of this money comes to me. So whatever you want to give, I greatly appreciate and look forward to more dope content.